More bombs have been sent to prominent critics of President Trump, including Joe Biden and Robert DeNiro. Former chief of the NYPD joins us with the very latest on the investigation. And all this did not happen in a vacuum. The divide in this country, it is growing, and political discourse is getting even more toxic. We'll take a look at the roots of it and also the political fallout from what's happening as we approach Election Day. Then, Megyn Kelly out at the Today Show, that after making incendiary remarks about wearing blackface. She apologized, but was still shown the door. Tonight we'll discuss if NBC made the right move. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thank you for joining us tonight. We begin again this evening with a rash of explosive devices sent to Democrats and progressives. Today, Joe Biden and Robert DeNiro, they joined a list that includes the Clintons, the Obamas, George Soros, CNN, and others. 10 devices in all have been sent, and the FBI is warning that more could be out there. Investigators, they're focusing on South Florida. As they say, a number of the bombs were mailed from there. Right now, there's a nationwide manhunt underway to find the person or persons who did it. And the FBI is also calling this an act of terror. Our own Dominic Carter, he is live in New York City with the very latest. Dominic.
Well, good evening to you, Richard. Officials here at One Police Plaza gave us a briefing just a short time ago. Officials say the region is safe.
There are no current credible threats to any individuals, organizations, or locations here in New York City. New Yorkers are safe. But everyone, all 8.6 million residents and the millions of visitors who come here every year should always remain vigilant and aware of their surroundings.
Multiple law enforcement organizations updated the public on the ongoing investigation into suspicious packages and explosive devices, refusing to say whether they were just a hoax or not.
We are working quickly to process and analyze relevant information from the suspicious packages recovered over the last few days. We will continue to do so for as long as it takes.
Dominic?
Question for the mayor, Mr. Mayor. Do you definitely feel this is terrorism related, and what do you say to the people of New York?
It's absolutely terrorism because it's an effort to use violence to make a political impact. That's the definition of terrorism. The people of New York City are as tough as it gets. This city's been through terror attacks before.
A message that was echoed yesterday by the governor. And what do you say to people that are watching you and the mayor right now nationwide that are scared to death?
Well, terrorism related, right? Terrorism is an attempt to strike terror, an attempt to strike fear. Obviously, these devices are an attempt to strike fear, hence terrorism. Are they domestic? Are they international? These are all questions that would have to be handled by the investigation.
And at that briefing, Richard, the mayor emphasized over and over again that tonight he's urging New Yorkers to stay vigilant and stay safe. Reporting live from One Police Plaza, I'm Dominic Carter. Richard, let's go back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Dominic. Now, joining me to discuss how this investigation is proceeding and what the investigators are looking at is Chief Robert Boyce. He's an ABC News contributor. He's also retired chief of detectives of the NYPD. First off, I guess among the three big questions the investigators are looking at is where the packages came from, who bought the materials to make the explosives, and where they were put together. How much does it help that so many of these devices are intact and you're able to go through everything from, I would imagine, serial numbers, etc.?
So, Rich, there are a total of 10 devices sent out. There are 9 recovered. Those 9 will be going down to Quantico, Virginia, and will be analyzed. Hopefully, they'll get some forensics off those devices or other leads from them. So that we don't know if there doesn't seem to be any messages or anything that we can run with in that direction. There is some grammatical mistakes on the addressing on each one. There is also someone on the return address. It's the same person. Ties it all together. So we'll see what happens. Now, you have to understand that these was plastic piping. It was a plastic digital clock that was attached to it. So it may have gotten through Postal Service on scanning. We believe they all went through the United States Postal Service. So that's a great lead in and of itself. We have a lot of postal inspectors working with the JTTF. They will look back to see if they can find any origins where they came from.
How much, I mean, New York City, you can't go a city block without showing up on a camera. How much do you think, with the advent of how ubiquitous cameras are throughout this country, how much do you think that's going to play a role, if any, here in finding the guy?
It's normally plays a very large role. As chief of detectives, that's how I made my living. There was a lot of video evidence out there, and we would collect it, and we would find people all the time who committed crimes. You'll remember that the package bomber in Texas, they got him on video as well. So it's out there. Don't know, because these were mailed, how that's going to play a role. Hopefully they get to that very quickly. They find out an origin, place of origin, where it's coming from, and they get video feeds from that. So that's probably part of the investigation right now.
The addresses, I mean, the guy might have, or whoever did this, misspelled a bunch of stuff, but at the end of the day, he got addresses that, you know, aren't on the top of everybody's lips. You had to search for them. Are search engines sophisticated enough that to get these 10 addresses, they can kind of figure out who did this search, or, you know, it's just too big a universe of people to look at that would looking up addresses?
It's not. The only thing about this is that there's a very notable people, and that's the problem. All right, but I've solved cases before on data mining, going through internet searches and finding out exactly who did the search. I solved my last package bomb case just like that, with the help of the JTTF. So it's the same unit that's now investigating this. So the NYPD works with federal agencies because the data mining is so vast. So that's an investigative avenue that I'm sure they're taking.
How much of this at this point is the science versus, you know, your guys, the detective? This is investigative work at this point. When you're going to crack this, is it really something that they're going to find when they, you know, go through the bomb, or is it more tracing leads, getting lucky with a break, somebody coming forward with information? How do these things typically really get solved?
It could be either one of those or both of those. So it is good, hard work, detective work sometimes that gets this done, but you can't walk away from the forensics. That's your biggest lead right now because we have so many devices. So that's a lot of evidence to go through. Again, you're going to have some of the best detectives in this country involved in this case because this is a primary on American law enforcement right now. So it's going to be both. It's going to be going down leads, taking tips from the public and running down those as well to see what they're hearing. Right now, you're hoping it's more than one person, because if it's more than one person, there's a higher chance that somebody's going to be talking about it. So that's what you're hoping right now, but a lot of people will be doing exactly what you just said in all investigative avenues that they have.
Chief, I'm curious, when it comes to this, there was a debate with the Unabomber as to whether or not to release his manifesto, and at the end, when they did it, his brother then came forward. How much do you think law enforcement is going to want to go public with information at the risk also of tipping off the perpetrator or perpetrators as to what they know or don't know?
So it was important that we put out the picture of the device and the packaging last night. You want to put out it's public safety is always paramount. So you have to balance that with the case itself. So you do hold things back that are confidential that would not benefit the public, and that's basically the rule of thumb. What's going to help keep the public safe? We put those materials out, the packaging and itself, and that person this morning in Mr. DeNiro's office called immediately. So that worked. That gets done. So that's going forward. That's important to do. I don't think you should be talking about everything in the case where you are, because remember, when you talk to the media, you're also talking to the perpetrator.
Chief, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Great to be here.
Coming up next, everyone, words do matter. Many people, they're blaming the president's own rhetoric for the situation that we find ourselves today in. That includes some Republicans as well as obviously Democrats. We're going to play for you the president's own words. We'll let you judge for yourself.